Hello, we're live. Welcome to our live chat. We are doing a NaNoWriMo Retrospective today. We've all participated in National Novel Writing Month for a very, very long time. And yeah, so we're just going to be talking about what we've learned through doing Nano, tips for people, I think, at any end of the nano spectrum, unless you've been doing it longer than us. I can't speak to that experience. But yeah, just kind of talking all about it and getting excited because it is happening very soon.
Like very soon.
Like
I'm excited to be more prepared.
A couple days. So yeah, where's everyone at in nano prep if you're doing nano?
I have zero plans to do nano.
I have plans to do it.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I have planned to plan. And that is where I am.
I have like one grease-stained piece of paper that has a couple bullet points on it. I can't find my notebook. It's gone.
So, super important side note, just while I remember. This is my new mug. It says, if you've got it, and the back says haunted, but I'm not going to spin it because it's full, and it's got a little haunted house on the top. And I just think that was really important to show.
That's incredible. It was important. It's almost Halloween.
My mug for the night, because it is also this week.
But it's close enough to being Halloween that this was only $6 because HomeSense was trying to get rid of all of their Halloween stuff.
I should go there.
They had a lot of like solid big Halloween mugs. A lot of them were Nightmare Before Christmas though, which I'm fine with, but I'm not like, oh, I will buy many mugs of this thing. Yeah. I'm like haunted houses. I'm into all year round. So
yeah. That reminds me, next week is our baking night. A night of fun before the nano madness begins. And so while we're doing this chat, I'm going to put the recipes down in the discussion section. I'm going to pull up a picture so that people can see what we're making. How do I share my screen? How do I? We've been doing this how long?
You're the person we ask. I don't know.
So this is what we're going to be making is little vampire cupcakes. It's going to be very fun. So we hope you'll all join us. And while we're chatting, there's a few different recipes that I'm kind of putting together to do this. So I'll put those recipes down in the description. One of those talking days, apparently. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully you can join us and bake along if you want. And if not, just come hang out. We're going to be having a good time chatting in between baking things. And yeah. So how many times have each of you done nano?
I just pulled up, because I knew that was going to come up, I just pulled up my nano check, and it looks like I think maybe there's one missing from this. I think maybe the first year I did it was 2012. But I have won 8 times, and I have done it, I think, 10.
Yeah, I just checked and I've done it 6 times. And the first year I did it was 2014, it looks like. And I did it like every year except for 2019 and 2020. But I've only won it twice.
Today is actually the 16th anniversary of creating my account. I have theoretically done it every year. The last few, my levels of like enthusiasm have been less. And like I wanted to be enthusiastic this year, but I know if I go in on November 1st with like barely a plan, I will fizzle quickly. So I have a week to get my act together.
This will be my 12th nano, and I have won almost like clockwork, like every other year. I have 5 wins. So this should, if the pattern follows, this isn't going to be a win year, but hopefully,
How do you see your wins? Where can I find that?
I just scrolled down and the wins were purple. I've never won a Camp Nano, so I always go into Camp Nano with such good intentions. And
I go into Camp Nano with such low goals.
Right.
it seems for me the size of the goal doesn't matter for Camp Nano. I will not reach it.
This will be
Got a
year
lot of-
5 for Laura, and
Yeah.
she's number 1, so hoping this will be her year. Very, very exciting.
Year number 8 for Andrew with 2 wins. Joe Catherine's 14th year. This is going to be Roscoe Rose's first official Nano.
I didn't realize how many of our like regulars were such like Nano veterans.
Yeah.
Got some experienced people here. But it's also fun, like, going into it for the first time. Like, I'm always excited when I see someone trying it for the first time because it's like, this is absolutely insane. Welcome. Welcome to the insanity that is NaNoWriMo.
I had just a brief moment of crisis, not really crisis, thinking, what if I didn't do my horror and I did a rom-com instead? So I might leave it up to fate to decide how am I feeling on Halloween evening.
As in finishing the rom-com that you...
Yes, that I have like 10,000 words of.
I'm not going to selfishly encourage that. I'm interested in both projects, but I've already read some of the rom-coms. I'm a little more...
Yeah, I think part of it too, this is maybe something that we could talk about more, is trying to pick a project that'll set you up for success if winning Nano is something that's a priority to you. And so like looking at, oh, I thought I was going to do this ghostly baking horror novel, but I'm still having a lot of ideas for it. And by the start date, do I think I'll have enough ideas to make a plot, or will I be like kind of setting myself up for nightmarish revisions because I started too soon, or for burning out on it. But rom-coms, I've only written like one romance ever. So pros and cons.
I think for me too, there's like this other, I don't know, there's like this right balance of like, I want to start thinking about this early enough that I am not, this is me as like crazy pantser lady. Even I like to go in with like some, I need to understand my characters and, you know, a couple other things. But if I start thinking about it too early, then a lot of times I get to Nano, I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of over this idea. It's not shiny anymore. So it's like striking that balance. Like, when do I start prepping for this?
Yes.
The Nanos that have been successful for me have usually been the ones where I've just like had an idea like in October and been like, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I'm enthusiastic about this right now.
Yeah, the ones where it's like a project I've been working on for a while or an idea I've had for a while, like those never, I have to be, like really excited for it.
I will be interested to see. I've been not writing really lately. I kind of hit like some burnout and just like bad feelings about publishing and stuff, kind of like just bogging me down, and just like I haven't written anything in like well over a month, which is a long time for me. So I'll be interested to see if Nano starts and it's like I'm excited and refreshed because I took a break, or if I'm still just like in my writing slump. Hopefully the first one.
Yeah, I believe.
Thanks.
Joe Catherine said, I'm rebelling this year because I have so many works in progress to finish. I used to be very traditional, but the works in progress are getting out of control. I relate to that.
Very, very fair.
I am in this photo and I don't like it. Misty Kate also said, I'm always rebelling because of multi-projects. And also, Misty Kate has been doing Nano since 2006.
Wow.
Woo!
Misty Kate should be leading this chat.
Yeah.
I've also been doing it since 2006.
Oh, yeah. I forgot it was the same year. Well, you and Misty Kate lead this chat. So obviously there's two ways to do Nano. There's the very traditional way, and then there's the rebellious way. If anyone's watching this who hasn't participated in Nano, hi, welcome. We're glad you're here. And also the traditional way is new project starting at word number 1 all the way through to 50,000 words. You've never written this project before. You've maybe planned it, but you haven't written it. And then rebellious can mean anything. You can make it up. No one will track you down if you're lying. They don't ask you to validate like the exact words you've written. So if you're like, hey, I actually want to do 50 hours of writing, or I'm going to finish off a bunch of my works in progress, like you can do whatever you want.
A couple years ago, I did like the goal was 10,000 of 5 different stories. Of like just try out a few things.
That's
and like
cool.
so I got to write the first 10,000 of different stories. And like I think that's why let's see. And Griswold said I'm most successful at Nano when I start a new project. I feel like I was with those years. And starting a new project and like getting to write the exciting beginning and cover all of the like character building and that kind of stuff, I do find goes really well. Like having to do the middle and end of a book is hard. Like
I hate writing endings. They do not come very naturally to me.
I always think I know like how the ending's gonna work, and then I get there and it's like, wait a second.
I get there and it's like, did I plan an ending or did I plan an emotional arc? Because that's
Right.
not a climax.
Yeah.
Andrew said, this is honestly the only time of year I write a novel, so I give myself the whole year to think about it so I can get a traditional win. That is very true, actually. I think the last few years it's been like most of the writing I've done for the year has been in November, whether or not I actually finish the project. Roscoe said, I will probably cry this year. Same.
Will it be because of Nano? Will it be because of something else?
I won't be able to tell. I'm just going to be doing it.
I just like, you know, every couple days, scheduled basically like, in my planner, like it's about time to cry again about something. We'll figure it out.
I love on TikTok when people do like a PowerPoint presentation of like all the times I cried in the last quarter of the year. It's like the subjects that made them cry the most, how long they went between crying sessions, like,
Yeah.
all the statistics.
it really puts into perspective that like the ones where why my toddler is crying. It's like, are the reasons I'm crying that much more sound?
Definitely not.
Just something someone said a few topics ago got me thinking about like I've finished Nano a number of years, 8 I think is what I counted. Only about half of those turned into things that I actually wanted to continue working on and revise later. So like the one I did last year, I may revisit the concept, but I don't even want to open that file. I just resented it by the end, but I did hit 50,000. Whereas the one before that, I've revised a few times and hypothetically will revise again. And the one before that, I revised and queried. So like it can turn into something, but it also might just, I don't know. I may be partially because I am so pantser, like just throw stuff at the wall. For me, it's very hit or miss over whether Nano produces something that I want to continue with. But
I think it's part of the tricky part for me right now. Like, I don't know what I want to do publishing wise, and the idea of just starting a project just because. So I'm trying to think of either like going back to and restarting my haunted house like narrative game idea, or one of my personal goals for the year was to just do like some silly kids book for my niece and nephew. Like, it's going to be like 100 words, but I'll spend a really long time trying to figure out rhymes. So maybe both. So yeah, lessons from past nanos. Is there any, have you ever tried any like different strategies? Like, I always want to do the reverse nano.
Every year it's tempting. And then I look at that first day word count and I'm like, you know what? I don't think so. That's not going to happen.
But then, like, you especially always end up doing like a panic 10K at the end. Like,
I do like 3 panic 10K days at the end.
Reverse
year.
nano.
yeah.
I think it was like Crazy Foxy who I was DMing with last nano. It was just like, I think I'm just going to do a 10K day and finish it. But then I have that fear of failure to like really spur me on. On day one, there's no failure and I'm never going to die. So I don't have to do 10,000 words.
I tend to have the most motivation in that first little bit of like, the world is my oyster. I'm going to kill it. This is going to be my best year ever. So I need to better harness that enthusiasm.
Unhinged 10K day Megan is like one of my favorite Megans.
Oh yeah, I'm just Snapchatting everyone, every single thought that crosses my mind.
There's a lot of coffee involved, a lot of just
too much, some might say.
I always feel like I ended up with some like weird meme Megan has created between bouts of.
Well, now
So
Emma lives in my
encourage
city.
that,
Anything
but-
could happen. Truly, anything could happen. I know where Emma lives, and it's not that far from me.
I feel like I also tend to front load my nano a little bit. I usually travel for American Thanksgiving, so like I know that a lot of times I have that family stuff that is slowing me down towards the end. I also like am a number fiend, so I like looking at the stats and I like seeing the number of words left per day to finish go down. And when I get to where that number is under 1,000, I'm like, oh yeah, it's all coming together, baby.
The like all the like number tracking is like, it's the best thing about the Nano website. I just love it.
It really is.
They have so much like wonderful functionality now, and I almost exclusively use the number tracking. I don't use the forums. I don't use the tips. I don't use.
I love when you're behind and it's like, you're on track to finish on December 15th. And then like, as you write more, like the date starts getting closer to November 30th.
Speaking of things Nano offers, how involved have you guys been in the past with like in-person local write-ins? Is it something you've done? Not done?
I tried to go to one once in Orlando and I couldn't find the other people. Never tried again.
My local library used to do some really good ones that I had a year or two that I would, whatever day of the week it was, I think it was Saturday, I'd just go and we'd do sprints and they'd have prizes for the sprints.
Yeah, I've had a lot of success with them.
Prizes
That
for
like
the sprints.
the first couple of years I did them, there was like one local group that was like the same 5 girls for like 2 or 3 years. And like we only talked during that time and it was nice and like it was a nice introduction to Nano. And last year or 2 years ago, I was in Toronto for like a month or something. And so I went to some at the like Toronto library, which is huge and it's a much bigger group with like a lot of tables, but it's really productive of like, these are strangers. Everyone's just making typing motions. So I guess I'll do that too. So
I've gone to a couple here and everyone is really nice, but I happened to move here just 6 short months before COVID started. And so everything kind of ground to a halt and it hasn't really picked back up much since. I went in other cities, but I always ended up accidentally sitting next to someone really pretentious. And that was never super fun. One time I told a guy I was writing a YA fantasy and he like rolled his eyes and told me that he was writing about a man who carries all his belongings on his back. I was like, okay. I'm glad you like it.
I just looked. It looks like they are doing them on Saturdays again. So,
Like Megan, now, if you really wanted to and are very convincing, you could bring Emma and be sure you're going to sit beside someone that you will get along with.
I was just about to say that, like, if I end up doing Nano this year, it will 100% just because Megan's in the area.
Because I keep showing up at Emma's house and I'm like, well, I'm gonna write.
Yeah. It will only happen.
Like, do you want to like go get some coffee or something? Bring your laptop for no reason.
I mean, that is also a factor for me because I'm going to visit Megan at the end of November. I'm like, well, she's going to be.
I'm going to be writing.
Like,
yeah.
Oh,
Kelly and I
you're both going to
just
be here
talked
in
to
November.
Emma,
I have
so-
to sign up for Nano now. Dang it.
Kelly visited in Arizona, and it was just like a day that we were both in Phoenix, Arizona, and we just like moved around different food venues writing.
Oh, I remember you guys doing that.
Like, I think we started at a coffee shop and a bookstore, and then we went to Starbucks, and then we went to the noodle place, and then we went to a different coffee shop.
It was a lot of fun.
It was great. We had that like really good red velvet hot chocolate at the one place.
That is the one that sticks out in my mind, yes.
Yeah. I think about that all
Not
the
the
time.
writing, but the hot chocolate.
I don't even remember what book I was writing.
They all start to blur together.
I remember some lady came up to me and asked me what I was doing because I have this bad habit. The problem with me writing in public is I have this bad habit of like when I'm really in the zone, instead of looking at my computer, I just like stare off into space, but like I'm typing frantically and I think it looks deranged a little bit. This lady is like comes up to me and is like, how are you typing that fast without looking at your computer? I'm like, I don't know, there are typos everywhere. I'm just in the zone.
Is there like a program that you all use in particular for Nano? Is it just a Word doc? What do you like to do for optimal nanoing?
Google Docs,
Pretty solidly
maybe.
Google Docs, yeah. I'm just like, this is the easiest.
Same.
It's everywhere.
It's on my phone.
I mostly use NovelPad now when I am drafting.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day, I used a whole lot of Write or Die. I don't know if that's still a thing, but
I think that it is. They've got like a 2.0 out or something. It's like a
3 point. I think they might have like a browser-based one
Subscription.
now. But
yeah.
if I'm like really in a pinch, I feel like I can do that, or do For the Words has like a sprint monster now.
I
Well,
think they're launching
they've
a
had
new
it for like
version.
years, but
Yeah. I think
um,
For the Words, I got an email about a new version or something. I'm like,
I feel like I used Write or Die for like years as like this sort of like training mechanism, and then eventually got to a point where I didn't need the like external, like my screen's going red to like if I set a timer, I can just make myself do it most of the time. If you're new here and haven't heard me talk about Write or Die for the past 5 years, I feel like I've been talking about Write or Die intermittently. Write or Die is this program that facilitates word sprints in horrifying ways by you set a timer and you set like a word count goal, and then it takes you to like this writing environment, and if you stop typing for too long, your screen will like slowly start to turn red, and then like bad noises like screechy violins will start, and if you stop for too long, it'll show you a picture of a spider.
I'm sure this has not had any psychological effect on you in the long term.
Yeah. This is why I am the way I am. Maybe this is why I have anxiety when I'm not writing.
There might be something there.
The spiders. The spiders are going to come. It is very stressful. You get kind of used to it. And you can do things to adjust, like your grace period before it starts. I think they also have like a nicer version.
Yeah.
Where
They'll reward you with kittens every however many words.
Yeah. They also have an even scarier version that, like, if you stop typing for too long, it'll start deleting words you've already written. I think
I have used that because, like, once they do that, you just rewrite the same words, and it just kind of it could kind of like nudge your brain a little bit of like, okay, just write that sentence again, and maybe now I know what comes next. It's like it's you see what they just got rid of. Like, it's not, you'd have to wander off for them to actually erase everything.
That is what would happen to me.
Just come back like, oh no. We had Valerie said, I've pretty much only done Discord write-ins. I live in too rural of an area to even have a proper local group. My official Nano area is elsewhere, Utah. And Missy
I'm
K
elsewhere,
also
Ontario. Can't appreciate that.
Missy K also mentioned possibly finishing up a quick writing Discord this week, if anyone is interested. I joined a group that was a group chat originally, and we recently migrated over to Discord. And I have really, really enjoyed the sprinting options that they have in Discord. You can like use these little bots that run the sprints for you. And that has definitely, being in a group with other people who are doing that all at the same time, has definitely helped my writing output this year.
Are we still doing one?
We do have one. We have a house that could be a Word Nerds Discord. It is all set up. So let us know your thoughts.
I don't even know how to, like, I don't know. If you're interested in that, potentially, put your like Discord handle in. I will copy them down. And if it comes together this week, you'll get an invite. And if not, we'll see what happens on baking night. We'll explain why.
Just toss out a link. Yeah.
Look, if Taylor Swift can drop 7 songs in the middle of the night.
I learned today that the Target one has another track.
What?
Somebody on TikTok put the whole thing, and I have saved it. It's very good.
I bought the Target CD, but it's not here
I don't have
yet.
Target in my country.
Oh, that's true.
I think my Target one was supposed to get delivered today.
Oh, you could have heard the song already.
It's a catchy song.
This is what I get for not checking my mail. I think maybe it hasn't actually gotten here, though. They usually send me an email.
And Griswold, who said I would need a how to use Discord video. We're going to be like training Erin as we go. So we'll throw it all in there. It's fine.
Erin is amazing at most things. Tech is not one of those things.
What? It's not getting here till Tuesday. That's
no.
so disappointing.
Oh, okay. I can't copy text right now. It just wants to like, I can only click on it and hit show. So
I will start showing people's usernames.
It would be really nice to have a Discord. And like when we were talking about it last time, like what we love about writing Twitter that is sometimes drowned out by the rest of writing.
By writing Twitter.
Yeah. So like having something like that where we can just share updates and fun links and whatever, and it just encouragement, sprints, all of that, and just have it be a smaller community sounds really nice.
We have a very important question from Andrew, which is Midnight's working with your Nano idea? Oh, yeah. Surprisingly, also working with my vampire book that I'm revising. I heard one of those bonus tracks, and I was like, wow, that hurts. I'm going to use that.
Yeah. It's also working with mine, weirdly enough.
Yeah, that was unexpected because the promo did not look like.
I was very concerned. But my Nano book, as I have planned currently, is actually just like You're on Your Own, Kid. Just the book form of that. So there are some other things as I've listened to it more than like, I can work with this, I can work with this. But that one in particular. I only needed one.
Yeah. And we've got a bunch of people dropping Discord stuff. And if you're watching this after the fact, please feel free to comment it or to send it to us.
I will totally remember to go back and find those.
I'm sure we'll talk about it next week too, and I'll remind you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think YouTube will block those comments, but even if they do, we can still see them. So sometimes they block like spam ones, but not enough. So.
And as Missy Kate said, be sure to include your Discord number after your username, because that's the only way we'll be able to find you.
Roscoe Rose has news.
I am on the edge of this.
I know. Ooh, what idea did you decide to go with? Roscoe Rose said, I decided my NaNoWriMo book, in case anyone's watching this after the fact. It's like, what?
I feel like when you watch them after the fact, the comments stream at the same time.
Oh, yeah,
Like-
they do. I think you can turn it off and on if it's on your phone.
Mm.
Aw. Hello, Lady Lo-Fi. Welcome. We're talking about National Novel Writing Month.
So you can tell from the general level of energy in the chat, we're so excited.
I really am.
I am too. I've kind of been itching to start a new project. October has been weird for me. It's simultaneously been like very slow and very fast. So I feel like
If you guys are feeling very enthusiastic, I need to like feel that more. I've very much learned that my level of enthusiasm in all things writing is just like I just mirror other people. Like if you're into it, I'm into it. If you're not, I am not. So enthusiasm.
I am so enthusiastic, but I'm also so tired.
that's it. That's the emotion. I don't know that that's an emotion, but that is what I'm feeling.
I'm tired as an emotion.
Okay.
Misty K said, how sweet. And Roscoe Rose said, what can I say? I'm a wholesome person. You are, and we're glad you're here.
I appreciate Valerie's energy. Zero prep, definitely doing it.
My most successful NaNoWriMo, I changed my idea like 3 or 4 days in. And it was, I think, the most consistent I've ever been. I won it. It was great. Would recommend.
I'm trying to remember what project that was because I remember you doing it.
It was Forsaken. I heard that one Taylor Swift line, and I was like, I can make a horror out of that.
Yeah, mine also started as a Taylor Swift. I mean, before the album came out, it started as I'd Lie, the novel. So,
Yes. I'm looking at that chart now. I just cruised up. Had almost no days that I didn't write.
Since I don't actually have an idea yet, I'm just like flipping through Midnights in my head and being like, mastermind the novel would be a lot of fun.
look, it's
You would have to be really using your brain to do that one.
Yeah, I would not personally choose Mastermind for.
Yeah, I found it very relatable. So
I've decided no more smart characters, actually.
I'm only writing idiots.
Yeah. I can't handle, plotting's already hard.
sorry, I'm just copying down Discord handles.
I've decided the only way to write smart characters now is when I'm like reading another book with a smart character, and then I think I know what they're going to do, but I guess wrong. Then I just take that and write it the way I thought it was going to. I haven't written a smart character in a hot second, so.
Just as I'm copying down the Discord handles, please know that even if you're not doing Nano, you are still totally welcome. Like, it's just.
Yeah.
We made Emma join, and she's not doing Nano. It's fine.
Yeah.
Well, she might be doing Nano now.
Yeah, true.
Apparently. Don't know what I'm doing, but
You can revise for Nano.
yeah, that's the question. It's like, do I want to revise or do I want to write something new?
Unless you don't want to
Should
revise,
revise.
then I will absolutely enable you to do something different.
Like, I should revise, and also I don't really have any developed ideas to work on. But Nano's more fun when you're writing something new.
Yeah, none of my ideas are
You could do the
developed, and I
sequel
have
to
revisions to finish.
Yeah. Do the sequel to the last one because
Yeah,
you have two people
sure.
waiting on that.
Companion book.
So
I do have those.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
I'll read your revised one, but I already know how the story goes. I need a sequel too.
If you get stuck, like, just show up in the group chat and we'll just tell you to do something.
my friend, if you get stuck, quit. It's fine.
I will happily assign you all ideas.
I would take that. Just make a Discord channel for Megan gives you a book to write.
I also do think having an audience in mind has been something that's weirdly helpful for me with writing lately. Like having, Kyra and I, we co-author books, and we have this person who will do positivity passes, and they're so nice and so incredible. And we'll just be like writing stuff, and it's like, oh, I'm excited to write this thing because I know Kaylee's going to like it. And like my Nano idea, I have a lot of ideas that I think Kelly will hopefully like. And I'm like, I just got to, if I'm stuck, what would Kelly like to read?
I have thought about it that way before. Of like, Erin is the easiest to pin down. Of like, I could put things in this book that I know Erin would be very invested in.
Just write your whole book of like, how do I get Erin to read my book?
See, Erin has read so much of my stuff, and I think like most of it, I think, she has not told me otherwise. It's very hard for me to think of things and be like, oh yes, I know Erin will like this. That I'm writing. I know things I could put in that I'm like, oh yes, Erin would like it. Those aren't the books.
My challenge is like, how do I write a book that Erin would read for book club?
Mm.
And Gideon the Ninth has been done. So different idea.
Just because Erin's in the writing group and supportive, I'm slowly pushing her to read more contemporary because I keep writing it and she keeps reading it because she's in the writing group. So one day I'm going to convince her that she actually does like contemporary. I think she actually does like contemporary.
She
hasn't realized it.
She has read like a couple published contemporary books in the last year or two.
Misty Kate said, you guys might now know us well enough to assign us ideas.
I also really like that the idea for the Nano form of like adopting ideas of like people posting ones of like, I really like this. I know I'm never gonna do it.
That would be so fun.
Really cool.
Idea graveyard.
Yeah.
Megan and I also have like a shared doc of like ideas that we think might be fun to work on together. Half of the time one of us will like put something in there and then have are you looking it up, Megan, just to see?
Oh no, I was gonna pull up. I have one on my phone too
Some
for
greatest
solo
hits.
projects.
So Megan said idea graveyard. Misty Kate says plot bunny adoption, which sounds nicer.
That tracks, yeah.
Because Idea Graveyard, we all have to go dig up somebody else's buried idea and be like, yeah.
I love that.
If you want this idea, you gotta dig for it.
I feel like the idea doc though sometimes is just things that it's just a lot of words. Sometimes it's like I don't know. I think murder parasols might be one of the ones in ours. I don't remember what I was thinking when I wrote that, but
it's like a series of notes you leave to yourself while you're half asleep, kind of thing. Where, like, what did this mean? I'm sure this was cool in the moment.
I once wrote down from a dream that I woke up. I wrote down sci-fi 12 dancing princesses. And like, I'm really intrigued by that, but I also know I will never write it because I'm not interested in writing a sci-fi.
Yes.
But if someone else wants to write that,
well, I'm kind of interested in sci-fi 12 dancing princesses.
Please write it for me. I would like to read it.
Probably not, actually. I don't actually like. I like sci-fi. Yes. Fairy tale retellings is not something I have ever. Sometimes I like the idea of it, but then anytime I actually sit down and read one, I'm like, I wish I wasn't reading this. There's only a very, very small number of like fairy tale retellings, and it's funny because like more like classical literature type retellings, like I will read every Pride and Prejudice retelling ever. I don't care if it's good. I don't care that I already know how it's going to shake out. But for some reason, like mostly like the grim sort of fairy tales. But
we should make a Plot Bunny adoption section in the Discord. Then people can comment with a bunny if they're adopting. It makes me think of, I have one that's been in my notes for years, and I know I'm not going to write it because I don't write high fantasy. But it just says, I want Geralt and Jaskier, but gender bent and sapphic. I would do unspeakable things to get to read that. I know I'm never going to get to write it. If anyone ever reads a book that's like that, please recommend it to me. Missy Kate said, name the bunny if you're adopting it.
See, I just found the one that Megan and I share, and there's this one bullet point that we actually are using. But I just like it because it's like a bullet point that just says snakes, and then there's a sub bullet point that says glitter snakes.
Yes. We took that and made a whole book out of it.
We did. Let's see. Some others from Megan and I's. Yeah, there's the murder parasols, which I think I typed murder parasols and then Megan typed OMG murder parasols. The Bachelor, but for a friend, platonic soulmate. Glitter.
I love that.
There's got a lot of glitter here. There's appearing in a cloud of glitter. So much glitter. This one just says poison. This one says accidental murder.
You did indeed hear glitter snakes, Roscoe Rose. There are glitter snakes in the work in progress.
This glitter snake that you can't see very well, but Megan gave it to me to commemorate her book. It's a real thing. I mean, it's not really a real thing, but it's a written bad thing.
Valerie just looked at Notes app, and maybe this is what I'll write. A romance novel about a horror author and her cinnamon roll paramour. And she has an amazing badass grandma. Yes, please.
Ooh, or like a romance novel between like a horror novelist and a romance novelist. I'd read that. Storyfellow says some of y'all should try your hand out at absurdism. I think maybe, Megan, that's actually what we should rebrand as. We're already doing that a little bit.
Probably. Will someone pay me to do it? Because I'll rebrand to anything if people will start paying me to do it. Like any publishing thing.
And yes, I would read Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I haven't actually read it, but I know the movie's kind of a train wreck, but was my train wreck. It worked for me.
Misty Kate said round robins would be fun with wine. Oh, yeah. One of my favorite things in writing, highly recommend if you have writing friends, or maybe if you're in like a Discord situation, is if you're not sure what to do next, just get with some friends and just brainstorm it out. It's great having a group of people who will just very like yes and all of your ideas. Sorry, I had a terrible cold like 3 weeks ago, and I lost my voice, and I've never lost my voice before. So that's why I'm coughing a lot. It's taking a long time for it to come back.
If anyone in the comments has something they want us to talk about related to Nano or not, like we are all a little tired tonight.
I'll just keep going if you don't guide us.
Yeah. I was actually gonna say, like, we probably could end early if we just wanted to, if we didn't have any questions and wanted to let people watch Rings of Power. But
House of the Dragon, Rings of Power's done.
Oh. Yep, I was
Tomorrow
here.
they'll both be done, and then you don't even have to worry about it.
Yes.
I wasn't worried about it anyway, obviously.
Really considerate of Amazon and HBO to finish both of them before Nano started.
Honestly, yes. I need time to recover.
My question is, I know House of the Dragons every 2 years. Is Rings of Power going to do the same thing? Is it going to be all of this every 2 years, or like can Rings?
I feel like for all of that money, they should be able to do it faster.
I've heard a lot of people talking about Rings of Power saying it's going to be 2 years. I don't know where that came from, but
or like
I've
B3. I just stagger.
Yeah, but I've also heard there's some potential that it could be sooner than that, maybe.
I also feel like Amazon thought they had a stronger hand against HBO and will not try to time it at the same time next year.
Yeah. That was honestly one of my thoughts about it, was we hit the last episode and I was like, oh, but we just got started. Like, I wish we had more. Now that we've reached this, I don't want to wait. You should have done a Peter Jackson and filmed a lot more of it. I'm sure we'll talk all about that some other time.
Yeah, stay tuned for a chat about that.
Catherine has requested our thoughts on the Great British Bake Off s'mores.
I haven't seen this week's episode yet.
I conceptually don't have a problem with it. The marshmallow rate is a little out of control for me on that one. I've seen the picture going around it.
Can someone explain this to me? Assuming Megan's cool with being spoiled on.
I've seen photos of the s'more. I haven't seen like who goes home or anything, so I would rather not be spoiled on that. But this s'more, it's like a little circular wafer, a layer of like damp chocolate, a marshmallow that's about this thick, another very thin damp layer of chocolate, and then another very small wafer.
When you say damp chocolate,
it's
melted,
like a ganache, not even just melted.
Yeah, like it's still actively
oozy.
I keep trying to like give it nicer words, and Megan just keeps coming back with like oozy. I didn't think the chocolate looked that unappealing.
I thought it just looked like you would just like take one bite and then there would be no more chocolate, just from the photo.
Yeah, the proportions are concerning to me. The like for a while, the grocery store near me, and I didn't see them this summer, which was too bad. But during summer, they'd have like these little like cookie s'mores things that like were like sort of a graham cracker cookie, and I actually loved them. So like conceptually, the idea of like putting it between sort of a cookie thing is like fine with me, but like I don't feel like you'd even taste the cookie. It would just be marshmallow.
Just marshmallow.
I also like just from the picture I've seen, it looks like they kind of have like browned the outside, but with the marshmallow that size, I can't imagine that they got the inside actually melted at all.
No, I think they just used a torch, right?
Yeah, which I also hate. You know, I didn't think I was that mad about the s'more. I'm like going off about it. Maybe I am a little bit of a purist about s'mores.
Joe Captain says it's untoasted.
Ugh.
Thank you to the people joining my damp chocolate.
See, but like talking about food with everyone has made me think about like in the past we've had just like side conversations about recipes or whatever. And like, so if we're about to get people in a Discord, I'm gonna want like a channel for everything. It's like, what food do you like? What books should I read? I want to know your opinions on things.
And I love that about Discord because everything can have its own little house. And then if you just don't want to see something, you don't have to see it. And if you want to get caught up on something, you don't have to wade through everything else. We had a question from N. Griswold that I had a couple things that I personally do. And Griswold said, the story I want to write for Nano has a few hand-to-hand fight scenes, and I've never written a fight before. Do you have any resources? YouTube is a spectacular resource for this. If there's a specific style of fighting you know that they're going to be doing, you can just Google like a tutorial. And YouTube is full of excellent fighting tutorials for just about every style you could want. And I also highly recommend if you have like 2 stuffed animals or like action figures or something, if you don't know what to do or you're like, this feels weird, you could just like take them and kind of put their hands in those places and be like, oh, this wouldn't work, or this seems like it would work. That has helped me from writing a lot of very silly and impractical fights. Does anyone else have anything that they do for fight scenes?
Also feeling like you don't necessarily need it all like completely blocked out. I know some people like usually who are more visual than I am, like really enjoy thinking about like, and then this and this and this. Like for me, it's kind of like I focus usually on like the dialogue and like the emotional whatever of the scene, and like give enough of like where they're at to kind of feel like we're a little oriented. But like for me, I don't feel like I ever write fight scenes where it's like, you know, exactly how everyone's positioned perfectly all the time. It's more just like, you know, we're getting some beats here and there, and there's the understanding that there's a fight, but it's not necessarily all choreographed out.
Which like it really works because I imagine it in a fight, you're not thinking about the exact movements that either you or your opponent are making. Like it's all so heat of the moment and you're responding on instinct and you're feeling things, but it's not, you're not planning out exactly how you're going to counter things or anything. Especially if you're writing a character who's an experienced fighter and just kind of does that on muscle memory.
Mm-hmm. And if it's not an experienced fighter too, just like the chaos of a fight.
The panic.
Yeah.
The panic and
they're not going to know the names for like the moves their opponent does. I'm like, and he hit me.
It hurt pretty bad.
Yeah. Did not enjoy.
0 out of 10 stars. Do not recommend.
Yeah, I do think that is something that people tend to accidentally do, is over-explain every move of a fight, when, especially in like a big battle scene situation, if that's what you've got going on, it's very easy to be like, and I'm doing these moves, and over there, this person is doing this move. And it's like, you wouldn't see or even really clock any of that probably.
Do we have recommendations of books with fight scenes that we like?
That's a very good question.
I feel like I skim over them.
Yeah.
I've now forgotten every book I've ever read. It's not Six of Crows. I feel like Six of Crows probably has some fight scenes. Neige has, you know, knives and stuff. Oh, there is one in actually A Crooked Kingdom where Neige is fighting like the other like assassin person whose name I've forgotten, but I like that book. It's probably good.
There are probably some in the Cruel Prince trilogy, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Slasher novels have good fight scenes for people who maybe aren't as trained in fight scenes. I just finished up Clown in a Cornfield 2, and it was very fun. Looking through my Goodreads. Trisha Levenseller novels have lots of fighting in them typically. Misty Kate said Clown in a Cornfield. Yes, I read it per N. Griswold's recommendation. It was very fun. The sequel just came out this year. Super fun as well. I thought it was a really well done sequel. Highly recommend.
That's one to me that like sounds like it's probably exactly what it sounds like. Is it exactly what it sounds like?
It is. I do agree with what Nicole said that the sequel is quite a bit sadder than the first one because it's the same kids and they all have trauma. Now, still clowns though. Still a cornfield.
I mean, that is what you sign up for, I think. So.
Yeah. Joe Catherine said, I love / hate writing chase scenes. He ran, then he ran faster. He jumped over the river that appeared.
I feel like that's where like some of that stuff is, I don't know, it's more freeing during Nano. Like you can do that kind of, I'm just going to write this out as it comes to me in my head. This is probably not going to make the final draft, but I'll have a really clear picture of exactly how that chase went. And I can worry about kind of trimming it down a little later.
This is jumping back to Missy Kate asked how we're all liking Rings and House of the Dragon.
Except for me, because I'm obviously not watching either.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying both. I really, really loved the last few episodes of Rings of Power. I thought they were very well done. I thought all of it was really well done, but I thought it picked up a lot at the end. And House of the Dragon moves fast, but it's also been very good and fun.
I'm just like happy to have so much like quality fantasy television.
Yeah.
So exciting.
I haven't finished Rings of Power yet, but I feel like my feelings are going to track similarly. House of the Dragon, I feel like is tricking me, and each individual episode is good, and like the actors are great, but the season as a whole, we'll see. But I don't know. I feel like I might be out on this one.
Yeah,
I had set the bar pretty like, Game of Thrones. So.
Yeah, when we started, I liked House of the Dragon a little bit more, or I was enjoying House of the Dragon a little bit more than I was enjoying Rings of Power, which was very surprising to me because I thought Rings of Power would be extremely my jam. But at about the midpoint of the season, they kind of crossed and switched. And depending on what happens tonight, I think Rings of Power is probably one that I would actually want to rewatch.
There's definitely been like different things I've liked about each, and I like that they are very different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we definitely have to do a whole chat about this once we're all done with everything. So,
spoilery one, because I don't want to spoil anything right now.
Too soon.
But at the very latest, it'll happen when the three of us can be together, but I think it'll be before that. But it will happen. Because my husband is sick of hearing me talk about these things, so I need somebody else.
We've got some really great book recommendations for fight scenes and stuff. We have a question from Andrew, and then I've got a question as well, and then we can maybe end it. Andrew said, this is very broad, but tips on writing romances. I don't think I own this book.
Kyra, go.
The thing I say about writing romances is like figure out why the characters are good for each other, because that's going to be why the reader's rooting for the characters to get together. And then also figure out though, like what's going to be pushing them apart, because that's going to drive your plot and your conflict. So like the whole fun of the romance book is that tension of like, I mean, it's genre romance, so we like know that it's going to work out, but it's like where, you know, that sort of magnetic like pull push. And that's like really all it boils down to is like, what is it that like, you know, these people are going to like, you know, help each other like be better together, like, you know, maybe complete aspects of their lives that are incomplete currently. That's like the push together, and then the pull apart is just like what is getting in the way. Is it, do they have aspects of their personalities that maybe clash at first, or do they have like external, like, you know, they love triangle, whatever those forces are. So at the end of the day, like it almost is that simple. It's just like what's pushing them together, what's pulling them apart.
If you want like a resource on writing romance, I really love Romancing the Beat by Gwen Hayes. It is such a fast read. I think I read it in like 40 minutes. But it covers just a full beat sheet of what a plot would look like in a romance novel and what stakes are in romance, and you know, how to give them a conflict that can't be resolved with a single conversation. So yeah, highly recommend if Kyra's answer didn't spur any ideas for you already.
Well, I mean, my answer was like the absolute most trimmed down version of basically what that book is anyway. So
yeah, and I honestly really recommend it, even if it's not a full romance genre novel. Like if your book has a romantic subplot, I've referenced it for every book I've written that has any amount of romance in it. And also, someone asked about Plotter earlier. I do love Plotter, and Plotter has a Romancing the Beat template if you want to use it. Oh, and I had one kind of to wrap things up question for everyone. So we all know the beginning of Nano, you know, it's easy to get swept up in the whirlwind of the community. I'm curious, what is your biggest tip for succeeding during National Novel Writing Month once the we just started Nano shine wears off?
Talk to your friends and family about the fact that this is going to be a thing that you're doing ahead of time, so that they will ask later, and you know that they will. So you have something to like continue to motivate you. Like someone else is going to ask if I wrote this book.
And like you can even like ask somebody to ask you. Be like, hey, I'm trying to do this month. Like ask me once a week how it's going.
And look disappointed in me if I haven't.
Yeah.
Like, wow, I was really looking forward to that.
I'd say also kind of have your list of things that are like, this is what I'm really excited about going into this project. Like these are the themes I'm really excited about. This is the, you know, the Pinterest board, the whatever. And again, like feel free to loop in your like your friends, your CPs, like, you know, have them like be prepared to be like, oh, remember you were so excited to write whatever element. Because once you get to where it's not a shiny new idea anymore, it's good to have the reminder of like, no, this is what I wanted to do for this reason, to kind of get you through that like early slump, I feel like.
One thing I sometimes like to do just to get through like the slumps that can happen in the plot of your book, especially if you haven't plotted in detail. If you have a really detailed plot, this is like less of a thing, but I like to have like a list of like things that could go wrong for my characters. Because sometimes you just kind of like reach a point where you're like, I don't really know what to do next. And so like having something where you can be like, okay, here's something I could throw at my characters, and then I have to find a way to get them out of it. It can be helpful.
Definitely, if you're watching this and you've done Nano before, whether or not you've won it, definitely drop your best tips as well in the discussion section or in the comments if you're watching this after the fact. I think for me, my best tip is don't be afraid to miss a day or to not hit the word count for a day. I know because it's so fast paced, it's easy to be like, bless you, to be like, oh, if I miss a day, then I'm going to get behind and I can never get caught up. But if you get burnt out, you're not going to want to finish. Or if you do finish, you might not be as satisfied with what you end up with. So like, don't be afraid to take a Pinterest break or to just not write for a day. You can catch up and it'll be fine.
Or you can not catch up and
yeah. Although kind of the flip of that, the one thing I've generally found helps is like a day you know you're not going to get there, hit the word count. Writing something and just having that little bit less you have to do, one, makes your chart look less depressing. And like to have some sort of flow to that, but also like just do yourself that little tiny favor, because if that happens like 7 times, that'll add up to a day that you don't have to make up later.
It totally
I think also, and this is something that's kind of come up in a number of our chats recently, but like we can give you all of the stuff that works for us. What works for us may or may not work for you. And I very much believe that like a lot of Nano is just like figuring out your process and like figuring out what does work for you. And that's, so for me,
and
like,
accepting that it will work again next year.
Yeah, well, and just things like I know I usually tend to do better when I sort of front load Nano, but last year I front loaded a little too hard and I did get burnt out and I didn't like my project anymore by the end. So like, you know, and this year, not saying it's, you know, I'm smarter and will avoid all the problems this year, because that's certainly not true, but I at least have that, you know, in the back of my mind, like, you know, get a little ahead at the beginning, but don't like make yourself hate your book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We've got some really, really lovely advice in the discussion section as well. So highly recommend reading through everyone's notes. I know I'm going to be reading and learning because, like Kelly said, Nano just feels like an ever-evolving process. So yeah, be sure to join us next week. We're going to be having our baking night, Halloween themed. We're just going to be hanging out. We can talk about books or writing if you want us to. We might also just, you know, just hang out. But it's going to be a great time. I know I had a lot of fun at our last baking night, so hopefully we'll see you there. And then we'll be back in November. We're doing write-ins every Sunday in November. So it's going to be a lot of fun and hopefully a lot of writing. Yeah, we will see you all next week. And I put the recipe links in the description, so refresh and they should be there. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.